and love that feeling of doing our exercise first part of the morning. So here we are on our backs. Feel free to release the arms off to the sides, away from the shoulders, or hands on your belly, whatever you like the best. And we'll take a moment just to breathe. Give yourself a big smile. Happy mind, happy heart. So glad that we are able to take this time together. Feel the belly rising as you breathe in. Feel the belly falling as you breathe out. Notice the body relaxing with each exhale you take. All right, take your time. Bend up your knees. Wrap your hands around your knees and pull them in. Now keep the knees either apart or together, whichever you prefer. We're just going to simply start to move the knees forward and then pull them back in. So what I want you to feel with this easy little range of motion here is what's happening with the low back. So it should feel like a gentle stretch to the low back. If it feels uncomfortable at all, then please make a modification, of course. As always, we're never doing range of motion to pain. If you need to lift your head off the ground, that works fine, or place the block underneath your head. I find this very soothing to the low back. And then hold your knees back in place. Begin moving them right and left. Again, you can keep the knees together or keep them apart. Maybe block underneath the head. And then back to center position. Extend both feet up toward the ceiling, lengthening your legs. Pull the toes down toward the kneecaps to stretch through the calves. Make your range of motion for the ankles, feet, and toes, circles, pointing and flexing, both directions, any of a variety of movements. Try to get the little toes involved as well. Hold the feet in place, point the toes toward the ceiling, open the legs wide into straddle stretch. Draw the legs back together. Bend the knees and let the feet come down onto the floor. Move the knees to the edges of the mat and windshield wiper the knees side to side. Bring your knees back to center. Straighten your legs all the way out on the mat. Sweep the arms behind the head. Point the toes forward. Activate your muscles, contracting. Arms, belly, legs, glutes, everything squeezing tight here. And then bend up the knees, wrap the arms around the legs and squeeze in. Wrap the hands around the right knee. Stretch your left leg out along the mat. Pull the right knee toward the right shoulder as you stretch the left leg toward the wall in front of you. So I want you to feel your left leg lengthening and your right knee pulling in more toward the right shoulder. Then extend your right foot up toward the ceiling. Bring your hands behind your leg. Flex the foot so you feel a stretch in the calf. Lift your head and shoulders off the ground. Pull your leg toward your nose. You don't have to pull very much here. I'd rather you favor keeping the leg a little straighter rather than pulling it in more. So if that makes any sense, it's easy to bend the knee and pull the leg in more like I've done here. But instead, I want you to keep your leg a little straighter, whatever is straight for you, and then pull the leg in just a little, even if it's just an inch. For one more breath, lift your head and shoulders up high away from the ground. And then release and sweep that leg all the way back down. Left leg up, hands around the left knee, pull it in. Stretch long through that right leg so the right leg muscles are contracted. You're pointing the toes toward the wall in front of you. Extend the left foot toward the ceiling. Hands come behind your leg. Pull the toes down to feel a stretch in the calf. Tuck your chin. Lift your head and shoulders up off the ground. Again, favoring keeping the leg straighter, whatever that is for you. And then pull the leg in toward the nose, even if it's just a small movement. And take your time, releasing your head all the way down, and sweep your leg all the way down. Reach your arms behind your head, full stretch. With your arms behind your head, interlace your fingers and flip your palms to face the other direction. Stretch and reach. And then raise the hands toward the ceiling with your palms facing toward the ceiling. You're pushing into the fingers, getting a little stretch through the forearms. And release the handhold and sweep the hands all the way down onto the floor, away from your shoulders. Now keep the arms out away. Your palms are facing upward. Bend your knees with your feet on the ground. Separate your feet a few inches. Drop your knees over to the left. You can always adjust this leg position if need be. Now hold this position for a breath. Look toward your right. Then turn your head back toward your ceiling. Now, you're going to keep your legs in place for a moment. We're going to take your left hand over to your right hand. Hopefully I got my lefts and rights correct there. But anyway, you're just going to stack up your hands, and now let your knees adjust so your knees are stacked up. If you want to put your block under your head, in fact, I'm going to get up and grab my block. If I can figure out where I put it, there it is. So if you want to grab your block and use it as a pillow, you certainly can do that. Works really well. Now from here, keep your knees in place. You're going to take your top arm, reach it up toward the ceiling, and then reach it all the way back and look back behind. And then lift it back up and bring your palms back together. So keep doing this same movement. Your head is following your hands. So if you're using a block, you might have to adjust the position of the block so your head doesn't fall off. And then just keep making this movement. Now, if your arm doesn't easily come all the way down to the ground back behind you, that's perfectly okay. Just reach it to where you can, or you could lift the top knee up a little bit to help you get the arm all the way down if that's your preference. So just do what you can. If you can keep the knees together and get the hand to the ground, then fantastic. But it doesn't matter. Make your adjustments so you can do some form of this movement. This is a great upper back, thoracic spine release. All right, let's switch sides. So just flip yourself all the way over. Now, first, let's do what we did on the other side. So just let your knees come over to the side, and then let your arms out to the side. Turn your head toward the left for a breath. Just let your back get used to the position. Then whenever you're ready, bring the palms together, stacking palms, shoulders, knees, hips, everything stacks. Then when you're ready, top arm reaches up and all the way back over. Do your best to look to the hand. Again, let the knee lift if you need to. Go ahead and start to go through the range of motion. Full deep breath, couple more times. And then release, come back onto your back, recenter your hips, remove the block from underneath your head. Knees are bent, feet on the ground, arms by your sides. Wiggle the shoulder blades underneath so you feel like you're dropping the shoulder blades down away from the ears. Hands are next to your sides with your palms facing toward each other. So your thumbs will be pointing toward the ceiling here. Then push the feet into the ground and bridge the hips up. As you do your bridge, you're also going to push your arms into the ground. You can always rock side to side a little. I always like tucking the shoulders under the body a little more once I come up into bridge. Now in your bridge, try to fire your muscles. So squeeze tight through your legs and your glutes. Get that good strong contraction. And then one vertebra at a time, you're going to roll the spine down. So you have to try to curl the spine down from the upper part of the back. That's really quite difficult to do, but let's practice it. So rise up again into your bridge. Before you go down, squeeze everything tight. Try to lift the pelvis way high. Glutes are active. Now think about moving from the top of the spine all the way down. So you've got to roll the spine to get each vertebra to touch down to the ground. Really got to work that, especially as you get down toward the lower back. Finally, the tailbone touches the floor. You may feel your back arcing a little once the tailbone is on the ground, which is perfectly fine. Let's do it one more time. Rise up, push up, feet into the ground. Hold here, push up as high as you can. Feel your leg muscles working. Then one vertebra at a time, roll the spine back down. Excellent. Once the tailbone touches, feel the low back arcing slightly. So there's a gap between your low back and the floor because you've arced the low back. And then push the low back once again into the floor. Then lift the knees off the ground, wrap the hands around the knees and pull them in. Extend your feet up toward the ceiling. Lower your feet back down onto the ground. Feet onto the ground with the knees still bent, arms by your sides. Same setup for bridge. But this time, we're going to challenge ourselves a little further. Lift your heels off the ground. So you might have to adjust the position of your feet here. The heels are lifted. Push the balls of the feet into the ground and bridge the hips up. Now rock side to side to get more on the shoulders and see how high you can lift your heels. Squeeze your glutes tight and hold here. Really squeeze, contract your leg muscles. Press your pelvis up way high. Now keep the heels lifted as you roll the tailbone, or rather the spine, back down onto the ground. We're going to go right up again. Press up. Heels are still lifted. Push up as high as you can. Roll the spine, lower back down. A little quicker pace here. Last time. Rise up. Roll the spine up. The heels are still lifted. Feel your leg muscles working. Slowly release. Roll it all the way back down. Nice. Pull the knees into the chest and squeeze in. Extend your feet up toward the ceiling. Stretch the backs of your legs. Lower your feet back down onto the ground. This time, your toes lift, your heels stay down. Again, you can adjust the feet to the perfect position. Rise up, tuck the shoulders. Toes stay lifted. Push those heels into the ground. Your legs should really be working here. Push up nice and high. Feel your legs working. 3, 2, 1. Roll it down and rise right back up. The toes remain lifted. the entire time. Hold tight, squeeze your glutes. 3, 2, 1. Roll it back down. Last time. Heels down, toes up, bridge the hips up. Really feel your leg muscles working. 3, 2, squeeze tight. 1, and release all the way down. You should feel your legs burning there if you did that right. Pull the knees in, extend the feet up toward the ceiling. Either bend your legs, or if you're more advanced with your core, then you can keep your legs straight, point the toes toward the ceiling, and lower the legs down to the ground. Keep your low back into the floor. Once your legs are all the way to the floor, reach your arms behind your head, full stretch out. Deep breath. Bend up your knees, wrap the arms around the legs, and squeeze in. Open the knees wide apart. Place your hands to the insides of the knees and really press the knees out. Now here, I want you to move the feet as wide as the knees. So usually we'll tend to keep the feet in a little closer than the knees. That takes away from the stretch. So move the feet out a little wider. Your hands are right to the insides of your knees or even to the insides of your thighs. And gently but actively press those legs wide into a groin stretch. And then draw the knees back together. Extend the feet up toward the ceiling. You're going to keep the legs straight and sweep them wide into straddle stretch. So the legs are wide. Once again, place the hands to the insides of the legs. Now be careful here. Make sure that you don't strain your muscles. So if this is too much, you don't have to push down with your hands. If you do want additional stretch, you can add just a little by pressing your hands into your inner legs. Now really squeeze your leg muscles tight, so don't let your legs be lazy here. Keep lengthening and stretching. Sweep the legs back up. Bend your knees and lower your feet onto the ground. Breath in and breath out. Stretch your legs out. Reach your arms behind your head for a full stretch. Sweep your hands up toward the ceiling. Lower your hands down by your sides. Now from here, walk your feet in close to each other so your feet and your legs are close together. You're going to push the left leg into the ground and squeeze your left quad muscles tight. So get this left leg active. Now as you rise the right leg up, I want you to push the low back into the floor. Especially as the leg gets higher toward the ceiling, your low back should feel like it's rounded. Now the trick here is to keep that low back planted and the abdominals active as you sweep the left leg back to the floor. Normally what happens here is we tend to let the low back lift off the ground if you're not paying attention. That releases the abdominals. We don't want to release the abs. So keep the abs tight, low back into the ground, sweep the right leg back up. Now this time as you lower down, don't let the foot touch the floor. Keep it hovering off the ground and sweep it back up. And then keep going. We're going to not go fast, but just go with a little more fluidity. So down and up. Monitor that you're keeping the low back into the floor and keep that leg lengthened. 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. And then release and lower that foot onto the ground. Awesome. That should have given a nice burn to that hip flexor muscle in that right side. Excellent, excellent exercise. I guess we ought to do the other side, right? Let's get to it. So right leg is going to stay anchored down. You're going to push the low back into the floor. Left leg rises and lowers. Now let's get a few in before we start our count. So really focus on pushing the low back into the floor and keep the leg lengthened as you move it. So it's so easy to kind of bend and just lazily move the leg through air. What if you were underwater? You would really have to use your muscles to press the leg through the water. and you'd be holding your breath at the same time. So don't hold your breath. So breathe fully, push the low back into the ground, and let's go. 5, 4, 3, 2, make your last one a good one. And then release, lower the leg all the way down. Awesome, everybody. Let's take a brief rest. Let those legs rest on the ground. Inhale and exhale. Good work. Grab your block again. Roll onto your left side, or whichever side is convenient for you. It doesn't matter which side you roll onto. Block underneath your head, just like we did earlier. Stack it up. Now, this exercise you're familiar with. We use this with the bands a lot. So this is really very effective with the bands, but it works well without the band too. And I'm actually going to make a modification here that the band wouldn't work for anyway. So what we're going to do at first is flex both feet and just start this little movement, right? So we're familiar with this. If you're doing hip power, which you should be doing, then this is one of the exercises in hip power with the loop band around the ankles. So obviously, as you can tell, this is much easier without the band, but it's still effective. Now, without the band, you might be able to go a little further, so that could make it more challenging. Maybe go a little faster. When you have the band, you're really focusing on form, going slow. I'm keeping both legs straight here. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and release that leg all the way down. Good. Now from here, what we're going to do is remove the block. Now you're going to lift the leg. You're going to roll onto your back. The leg is going to lift toward the ceiling. You're going to grab the leg and lift your head toward the knee. Then you're going to lower down and you roll back onto your side. So we're going to flow this way. So now you're back to your side. The leg lifts. You roll to your back. Lift up. Lower down. Roll back to your side. Smooth it out. Roll to your back. The leg lifts. And release down. Roll to your side each time. The leg lifts. Let's get it 3 more times. Two. And 1. And then release. And then we get the other side. So you can either flip so you're still facing the same direction, or if you just want to roll yourself over the opposite side, you'll obviously be able to still hear me. So do which works best for you. We start with the legs stacked, the feet flexed. Let's begin that simple movement. So again, I really want to encourage you to keep doing hip power. It's a fantastic sequence. It's 6 workouts. There are easier and harder versions. We don't always use the bands, but with the 6 workouts, they're very short. They're 20 minutes or so, about 15 minutes, actually. And you're doing different positions. So some of the workouts are on the side, some on the belly, some on the back, some from standing. Really, really effective program. All completely included in your membership. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Release the block. Lift your leg. Roll onto your back. Lift the leg higher. Reach your nose up to your knee. And then release. Roll to your side. And lift. 3 more times. And last one. And then release. And then roll yourself up, all the way up to upright position. We're going to come all the way up to standing. So whatever is the easiest way for you to come all the way up. Take your time, no hurry. Get up onto your feet.
Whew, good job, everybody. That was an awesome floor sequence. I can definitely feel that work in my hips. I definitely have some weakness in my left hip, probably partially due to the issues I'm having with my left foot and ankle. So it all kind of connects, you know? So I'm strengthening this left hip to help my ankle and foot function better. So it's definitely helping, but you may notice these kinds of issues as well. Everything is connected. So if you're having, troubles with a knee or an ankle or whatever it is, look for other areas that you might be able to strengthen that are away from that joint to help support it. A physical therapist certainly would take a look at that kind of thing for you. Okay, let's get going with our standing sequence. So we're going to begin with a wide position, hands on the hips. We're going to take a flat back, forward fold. So the legs are straight. Check to see that your feet are square to each other unless there's any hip issues. And then if you need to, you can point the toes out to help out the hips. Otherwise, we square the feet and then hinge at the hips. In other words, you're keeping your back straight. Go down until you feel your stretch and then just stop there. And come back up. Now, part of body awareness is that your head is staying in the same relative position. Watch when you go down. Go ahead and go down again. Make sure you don't drop your head below the line of the shoulders. The chin is still tucked in a neutral position. And come back up. Or I say not tucked, but you certainly aren't lifting the chin or taking it to the chest. Keeping the chin neutral. Go down again. And then come back up. You should be getting a hamstring stretch each time. You may find you're able to go down just a little deeper each time. And then come back up. Now, if you need to, you're going to, let's go all the way down. So your hands onto the floor, or you might use your block here, or you can certainly bend the knees. Now, once your hands are down, you may be able to widen your feet an inch or two. This is not necessary, but you may find it beneficial. From here, begin to move your legs from side to side. Such a great hip mobility exercise. This is really important to do. It's not always easy for some of us. This is an exercise that we should be doing frequently. Moving side to side, you're using your hands to help you. By the way, if this is just not happening for you, there just isn't enough flexibility, do it with your hands up on your knees. Sorry, I should have mentioned that in the beginning, but you certainly can do it like this. Hands on the knees, or as I said, hands on the block. If you're using the block, by the way, you can kind of move the block. Not hugely convenient, but it's better than, it makes the exercise a little better if you need that. All right, back to center. You're going to bend the knees and look up, come onto the fingers. Now the key here is to bend the knees so you can get your chin and chest to lift. Some of you are going to use that block that looks like this. So the knees are bent, the chin and chest is lifted. I want you to pull that belly up toward the spine. And then from here, push all the way to standing. The hands come up high. Interlace the fingers and spin the palms. Look all the way up to the hands. And then release the hands all the way down. Walk the feet in. Bring the feet close together and give your feet, ankles a little shake out. Other side, shake it out. And move that block aside. Okay, good. Feet close together. Let's work on tall posture. So actually, let's do this for just a moment. Come over to some wall space. And let's do a brief posture check. We're not going to take very long with this, so you can be wherever it's convenient for you, just so long as you have just a little teeny bit of space. Now, look down and move your heels 1 to 2 inches away from the wall, so your heels are not up against the wall. They're only a couple of inches at the most away. Then push your bottom and your 2 shoulder blades against the wall. And then your head is also 1 to 2 inches away from the wall. Now, if you do this very often, this could feel uncomfortable. If this is uncomfortable for you, you know what that means. You need to do this more often. Now notice that you're looking straight ahead. So with your head in the proper alignment over the shoulders, but with not touching the wall, you should feel like you're looking straight ahead. I think so often we get used to looking to the ground. with our head in front of the shoulders, that this may feel a little odd. But notice that your gaze should be straight out ahead, not down toward the ground. Now hold this position. You could even close your eyes if you like and feel your posture. Give it a deep breath. Good, and then release and come off of that wall. So that is my wall exercise. I've done several videos on that. There is videos on that in the website if you're interested, but it's basically that simple. And if you were to do that frequently, like once a week or once every 2 weeks even, it would make such a difference. And it's hard to remember to do, but if you can find some way to remember to do that, it's really useful. As kids, when we were growing, we would, your parents would measure you, or you did this with your kids. You'd measure yourself so that in 6 months you could see how much they grew. And it's amazing, of course, how fast they grew. Well, that was kind of a wall thing to do for youth. I guess this is a wall thing to do for, the other side of it once you're, 50 plus or whatever the age category is. But, you want to make sure that you're using the wall as a measuring guide so that you, otherwise it's really hard to know how your posture is. But now, just as you're standing in the middle of the room, see if you can emulate that same feeling. This is so important. It's about how you look, how you appear, confidence level with posture. Perhaps more important, though, is just simply the alignment of the body. To make sure that we're maintaining alignment takes strain off of the body and reduces pain. So this is just such a very, very important thing. Now, bring your feet close together. And maintaining that tall posture as best as you can, bring the hands onto the hips, and we will move into single leg balance. So as you lift one heel off the ground, check to make sure you still have your balance, rather your posture, and then lift the foot off the ground. Remember to hold on to something if you need it. You can always go right back over to that wall. Now see if you can grow that spine a little taller as you hold single leg balance, then lower the foot onto the ground. So just warming up here. Left heel lifts, find your posture, find your balance, lifting the foot up. Steady breath. Release and lower that foot onto the ground. Other side, take your time. Lift the foot up. Let's start to challenge it just a little bit more. Make sure the abdominals are active. Make your ankle circles. So this may or may not seem more challenging to you. For some people it does, for some people it doesn't. But any kind of movement like this is going to, let's reverse the direction, is going to challenge the proprioceptive awareness of your support leg. Lower it down and let's get the other side. So varying degrees of difficulty. If you're already challenged by this, then that's okay. But just know this is something you should work on more often than just once a week. Get the other direction. I would say you definitely could practice this every day. Lower the foot onto the ground. And I would say then, get away from it for a day or two. But if you're struggling with your balance, you just need to work on it more. Give yourself more repetitions. Let's keep going with our challenge. Lift the right foot up. You can always hold on to something if you need to. Now we bend and straighten at the knee. So you're feeling your left leg reacting to this movement. Now let's add to this movement by swinging the leg behind and then bending it and bringing it forward. Behind, and then bend and bring it forward. Bend, bring it behind, bend, bring it forward. Good. And then down. Other side. Left leg lifts. Bend and straighten. If this is particularly difficult, you're holding on to something, or you could even keep the leg closer to the ground and even tap the foot like this onto the floor. Or if you're needing the extra challenge, then just go ahead and lift the knee higher and try to keep that knee lifted. This is a really nice exercise. Let's go into that second option. So the leg swings behind, bring it forward, bend the knee, and reach it out. Focus. Last one. and release. Good. Shake it out. Awesome, everybody. We've got one more to go. Now, before we get to it, give yourself a breath. Another way to make these more or less challenging is where you're looking. So if you need it to be easier, look straight down to the ground. As you get better and want it more challenging, look out far away from you to the wall in front of you, even up a little bit, if that's possible, depending on the exercise. Okay, so that gaze point is important. All right, let's get the last one in this sequence. Then we're done with our balance for today. Hands on the hips, right foot lifts. We're going to make hip circles. Now, make the circle small or bigger. You can tap the toes on the ground if you need to, or it just happens sometimes, right? Let's reverse the direction. You're monitoring what's happening in that support leg. And release it down. Other side, last one. So if you have one or both sides that's more difficult, make sure you're having a success. Don't get frustrated. Back off of the movement. And then just practice it more often. You will get better. Reverse the direction. And release it all the way down and shake it out. All right, everybody, nicely done. Let's come to the front of the mat. Hands by your sides. Lengthen up tall through that spine. Feet are hip width apart. Building some leg strength. Right foot steps back. 1 step, 2 steps, 3 steps. Now we've got some balance going here again. So hold on to something if you need to. As you bend into the front leg, we're in our lunge position. Now check a couple of things. Make sure your back leg is moving a little straighter and your front knee is getting a little more bent. Now the other thing to check is to make sure your belly has not ballooned forward. So you pull the belly in and roll the tailbone down so you have neutral spine in the low back. Okay, now from here, we're going to bend both knees down and back up. Now both legs straighten as you come up. Bend, straighten, bend, straighten. Now we're going slow here at first because that hip flexor is getting a pretty good stretch. So I want to make sure that we're going slow and moving into this with caution. You should be feeling a little pull on that hip flexor of the back leg. If you're feeling okay, you can start to go a little lower. For some of you, it's a small bend. For others of you, that knee is getting close to the ground. 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Now you must be very careful coming out of this. So lean forward and take little teeny steps forward until your feet are all the way together. That hip flexor is in a dangerous, well, not dangerous, but it's just a little bit vulnerable to straining it if you come out of it too fast. Plus remember, the balance is a little precarious there. So you want to take little teeny steps to make sure that you're safe and perhaps holding on to something as well. Let's go to the other side. Left foot steps back. 1, 2, 3. Now in lunging, our tendency is to not step back very far. So I want to challenge you to get back a little further. Maybe if it's just an inch or two. Maybe hold on to something. Bend the front knee, straighten the back leg. Let's get our position here to start before we make the movement. Pull the belly in. I want the abdominals to be working here strong. Now, let's just start with little teeny movements, bending and straightening. Now, there's no question that when you straighten both legs, that's a little bit precarious. That's a good thing. We're challenging our balance here. Now you're making the movement, And you're just exploring how that muscles are responding to this. If it's feeling okay, you're not feeling any strain, the muscles feel like they're ready, you certainly can start to go deeper. Let's get in 5 more. And then come on up, and again, lean forward, take little teeny steps to return back up and out of that. Awesome. Boy, I got to tell you, those lunges are such an efficient, important exercise for us. Got to keep doing our lunges. Let's do it one more time. Here we go. Hands to hips, right foot back. 1 step, 2 steps, 3 steps. We know our muscles are warmed up and ready to go. If you want it easier, hands on the hips. If you want it harder, arms overhead. Here we go. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Carefully step out of it. Last one. Left foot back. 1, 2, 3. Step back way far. Hands on the hips or arms overhead. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Carefully step it up. Woo! Good job. Should have gotten a good burn out of those legs. We're going to walk that off. Deep breath. Walk it off. Good job, everybody. Good job doing those lunges. So, a couple things from today to keep in mind. Keep checking your posture. Use the wall. Do those lunges. Very important. Got a little cardio from that too. I know I'm talking also, but definitely maybe get a little cardio from that as well. And then all those single leg balance exercises with the movements of the ankles, knees, and hips to improve your proprioception. Okay, everybody. Great job today. Awesome, awesome, awesome. I'll look forward to seeing you next time. I am doing live flow on Thursday and fit on Saturday. If you don't want to do those classes, be sure to grab a replay or something out of the video library. Okay, everybody, take care. Bye for now.